Hello, and welcome to our lesson on developing a worldwide sourcing program. This segment will cover logistical considerations. Buyers should be aware of the potential effects of extended distances on their ability to plan and manage a worldwide supply chain. Although advanced industrial countries have developed infrastructure, many offshore countries still need to, making shipping delays a real possibility. Realizing this need for infrastructure between 2011 and 2015, China plans to spend $950 billion on roads, bridges, and ports. Currently, only 3% of Chinese people own a car, making mass transit a necessity. China is also expanding its airline system, planning to build 97 new airports in the next 12 years. Though China is quickly trying to upgrade its infrastructure, India's efforts currently are lagging. India's supply chains are built on slow transit networks fed by poor roads, ineffective ports, and little distribution infrastructure. The national highways constitute only 1.7% of the road network, but carry 40% of the total road traffic. Yet only 24% of the country's national highways are four-lane and meet the required standards. The main issues ports face include containerization, custom procedures, and insufficient hinterland connectivity. Logistics infrastructure is severely limiting the country's growth, and costs are incredibly high as a result. Earlier estimates indicated logistics costs are around 13% of GDP in India versus 10% in the United States. In other developing countries, this ratio can be as high as 25% of total gross domestic product. Poor infrastructure becomes a factor when calculating the total landed cost for offshore goods. These logistics costs must be added to the purchase price to arrive at a final cost. Slower logistics responses also mean that the costs carrying extra inventories need to be added to final cost calculations. These differences will narrow as China, India, and other developing countries count logistics infrastructure. In preparation for this, U.S. ports are increasing their capacity and intermodal operations capabilities to increase their ability to handle larger vessels due to the widening of the Panama Canal scheduled for completion in 2015. Incoterms are internationally recognized commercial terms that describe the responsibilities of the buyer and seller in the transportation arrangement. Delivery occurs, and risk of loss transfers, at the point designated by the term selected. However, transfer of title/ownership is not covered by any of the Incoterms and must be specified separately by the parties. They are used in conjunction with a sales agreement or other transaction method. The buyer and seller have an array of terms from which to choose, depending on the extent to which each party wants to be involved with the transportation and insurance. One of the complications is the modes by which an international shipment will move. Typically, there will be more than one mode of transportation involved. Incoterms 2010 was developed to take account of the spread of customs-free zones, the increase in the use of electronic communications, concerns about security following 9/11s, and the latest developments in trade. They have replaced the 2000 version. EXW, CPT, CIP, DAT, DAP, DDP, and FCA are commonly used for any mode of transportation. In EXW, X works, the seller prepares the goods at their location and prepares them for pickup. The buyer arranges for pickup at the seller's plant and then handles all the other arrangements and costs associated with getting the goods from the seller to the buyer's place of business. Buyers using EXW are either very experienced in the area of international freight and customs or have hired a 3PL, third-party logistics firm, or another intermediary to handle the freight details. Under EXW, the buyer has maximum liability for shipment and bears all the costs of the transportation, customs, and the like. Alternatively, under DDP, delivery duty paid named place of destination, the seller has maximum freight responsibility. The seller is responsible for handling all of the details of the shipment, including getting it through customs in the United States and getting it to the buyer's facility or other named destination. FAS, FOB, CFR, and CIF are used for sea and inland waterway modes of shipment. FAS, free alongside ship, is a popular Incoterm in heavy lift or bulk cargo contracts. Under FAS, the seller is responsible for clearing the goods for export, delivering the goods, and placing them alongside the vessel at the named port of shipment. The buyer has to bear all costs and risks of loss of or damage to the goods once they are put alongside the vessel by the seller. This is the end of this segment of our lesson. In the next segment, we shall discuss legal systems. This course is presented to you by South Europe College. Thank you for listening, and see you on our next segment.